I want to talk for a few moments about the Google Pixel 10 Pro Fold leaks that were out in the past couple of days. And no, the company isn't correcting the goofy naming for its book style foldable, but it was interesting for a few different reasons. There were some specs that we pretty much expected, right? Larger cover display, 6.4 inches. That will be nice. Tensor G5 will power the 10 Pro Fold, 16 gigs of RAM, which has been standard on the Pixel devices. We should see that again with the Pixel 10 series and on the Pro Fold in particular. So that's all nice. But with the Galaxy Z Fold 7 releasing or nearing release, it's interesting because Google couldn't have done this on purpose. And I really wasn't looking forward to or particularly excited about the Pixel 10 Pro Fold because it didn't appear that Google was making any significant changes to the device. But the few things that the company did upgrade, which we're going to talk about, rumored, seem like the perfect counter programming to what Samsung's offering with the Galaxy Z Fold 7. It's almost like you couldn't plan it any better. The soft spots that are on the Z Fold 7 are being addressed by the Pixel 10 Pro Fold to give Google some sort of competitive advantage and some sort of chance to kind of get a toehold in there and possibly be the foldable or the large scale foldable that you choose in 2025. So let's talk about those few things that Google changed. The big one is battery life, or battery size, I should say. Still not a silicon carbon battery, but Google is fitting the Pixel 10 Pro Fold with a 5015, I don't know what the extra 15 does, but maybe that puts it over the top in some fashion. 5015 milliamp hour battery in the Pixel 10 Pro Fold, countering the 4400 milliamp hour battery in the Galaxy Z Fold 7. Now, that could equate to something significant, right? Because the Tensor G5 is, the tensors have been getting more efficient. The Tensor G5 shouldn't benchmark as well as the Snapdragon 8 Elite, so it might not require that much power. And that extra battery cushion, with all things being equal, of course, the software running well, the Tensor G5, like we talked about, being power efficient, all things being equal, that would relate to a comfortable battery life on the Pixel 10 Pro Fold, which I don't really get to this point on the Galaxy Z Fold 7. The Galaxy Z Fold 7 with light to mixed use can get me through an entire day. But if you're a heavy user, if you're somebody that's opening up that internal display, if you're playing the games that Samsung wants you to play on there and you're doing the circle of search to defeat the boss or whatever else, and you're watching a lot of video and you're doing some of these intensive things that you pay $2,000 to do on a book style fold to enjoy that larger display, you're going to be hurting a little bit. You might want to find, by nighttime, you might want to find a charger for a few minutes just to ease some of that battery anxiety. Do I think it's a bad battery? No. But if you ask me if I could pick up another 600 milliamp hours, I'd say yes. And that's what you get with the Pixel 10 Pro Fold. So look for an advantage there. These foldables are nice. I like having a large display. I like having all this power. I like these things that you get with these larger foldables. But if you can't power me through the entire day doing things on the large display that you gave me, it doesn't matter. So that if you can get me a little extra battery life on the Pixel 10 Pro Fold, I think that's a bonus, any check mark in Google's column. Here's another big one. IP68 dust and water resistance. This is the first time we're going to get an IP68 rating on a foldable device, or at least one of the larger foldable devices. And I think that's a significant advantage for Google. Even though these devices have gotten a lot more durable, I don't really worry about these foldables anymore. The first one, sure, you can basically fit a rock under the display, right? You can fit a rock under the plastic layer there and mess up the entire display on the original Galaxy Z Fold. We're not to that point anymore. These things have come a long way. You could drop them now. The hinges are more secure. There's a lot better, you get IP48 resistance on these devices now, ratings on these devices now. So I don't really have the anxiety that I used to have with these foldables. But the IP68 rating, Google being able to come out and say, look, we're putting the same rating as we put on our other slab flagship devices. That's a big peace of mind barrier for a lot of people who are perhaps on the fence about trying a foldable phone. And every time one of these foldables comes out and I show somebody a new foldable, they say, man, that's impressive. I love that. Perhaps I would give that a shot can I take it to the beach? If it's raining out, can I open the display? And while, you could splash on it and all these things, and you're not going to ruin your device, if Google could stamp an IP68 rating on there and jump up and down and say, this is what you want. This is the durability you've been looking for in a foldable. Not only can you drop it a little bit because it's a more secure, or it's a sturdier hinge, but now you can take it to the beach. You can take it out in the rain. You can take it on the dusty job site. You could use it outdoors without that fear that something's going to happen, whether it's an actual fear or not, or it's just a perceived fear in the minds of most consumers. I think that's a big thing. So if Google is able to slap that on there, I think that's a big win in the column for the Galaxy, for the Pixel 10 Pro Fold. More RAM, 16 gig standard. Yes, Samsung is offering a 16 gig variant on the 1 terabyte model. I don't even know what the price on that is. I don't even know. I don't want to look. But if Google can offer 16 gigs RAM, I understand there's the 4 gigs that's reserved for AI. I don't care. If it keeps the Google Gemini stuff running well, if the rest of the system is able to run well for longer because there's more RAM, and I'm able to get Google Gemini features for longer than new ones, whether you like them or not, okay? It's trying to add value to these devices. Whether you care about AI or not, in the next X amount of years, it's going to be a thing. And if you're telling me that the Pixel 10 Pro Fold could get these AI enhancements longer because of that extra RAM, then that's going to be something that weighs in favor of Google. The other thing is price. Samsung upped the price, $2,000. I think they're walking that back in some circles. I don't know whether they're walking it back or it's going to be less, or it's less overseas and perhaps that pricing is coming here. I don't know. But if Google's able to maintain its pricing, maybe even lower it $100, but I don't think that. Don't quote me on that. If Google's able to maintain $1,800, $200 gap, okay? 10% off the Galaxy Z Fold 7. And you're getting the same years of software support, you'd be getting hypothetically better battery life, slightly better durability, not a sleeker device for sure. Samsung is going to have the design edge, I think. Google has its Google extras and its Pixel quirkiness, and that bleeds over into the design, and that's fine. But if you're looking for, there's going to be a clear line that if you're looking for the best design, the sleekest design, the thinnest device, then the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 is probably still going to be your choice. If you're looking for just something that's a productivity monster, if you're looking at something that may be a little thicker, if you're looking for something that is going to have that large screen, but also the battery life to get you through an entire day without having to worry about it, then Google really comes good, especially for $200 less. And of course, the company can do the funniest thing ever by adding some sort of stylus support. That's not something that they do, but it would be hilarious if Google were to add stylus support to its foldable rather than take it away like Samsung did, or not have it in the first place, rather, or take it away on the Samsung, but not have it in the first place on the Google device. Interesting. I wasn't interested at first in the Pixel 10 Pro Fold. It seemed like an iterative update. It seemed like Google didn't do a whole heck of a lot to the device. The design is kind of meh to me. If you like it, you like it, but it's kind of meh. And when Google wasn't really taking a big swing on any sort of enhancements, I wasn't really paying attention. But then when I saw the spec list released or leaked, and I saw the few things that Google did upgrade, and it happened to be directly aimed at almost the perceived weaknesses and the actual weaknesses in some cases of the Galaxy Z Fold 7, my ears perked up a little bit. Got a little bit more interested than I had been previously. So that's something for sure. It's going to come down. It'll be interesting next month when the phone's released, what we see. I do think it's going to be more of a competition than I originally thought. After holding the Galaxy Z Fold 7, this is pretty much a slam dunk. But I'm telling you, the battery, the speakers, the IP rating. I don't really consider the IP rating a weakness of the Samsung device, but the speakers, the battery life, the longevity with the RAM, there's a few things there that you could point to, the price, a few things there that you could point to and say, hey, you know what, I might hold off on that phone. Completely valid. If you want to wait and see what happens with the Pixel 10 Pro Fold for your folding dollars in 2025, I completely understand where you're coming from, because I do think it's more of a conversation than I thought I was going to originally have. We'll have one here. I didn't even bother doing a lot on the Pro Fold last year. Just seemed kind of like an also-ran. This year might be something to it. Google might have something, just being kind of that utilitarian go-getter with a large display for the battery life with better multitasking. We'll see. we'll see what happens with the devices released next month. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have the delicious day.